expense to put them up somewhere so that there's a happy mid-ground, all these other things that have been put on the table. And as has been said by, particularly by what Simon Johnson said, it's not that other sporting events aren't going on with people travelling.
No, exactly.
I have heard that there's some concerns about whether England are going to send their best team over for the Ashes. Well, I fucking hope no one turns up to watch it if it's half a team. But they will. They'll turn up to watch it because they'll hammer us. Which is a shame.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not, but we'll see on that score. But yeah, I don't know where. I don't quite know where we go from here. I mean, I think obviously the Aussies didn't sign the participation agreement, and are therefore. I don't know what, from a legal perspective, that means in terms of our opportunity to recoup any of the costs that are associated with this. Probably doesn't. I think if New Zealand have signed it, then they're in a bit of trouble, I would have thought.
Yeah, but they don't have any money, do they? That's the problem.
Sorry?
It's only the Aussies that have any money from the game, isn't it?
No, that's true. But if they wish to do so, I guess the tournament organisers could bankrupt New Zealand Rugby League.
Which I don't think would be a positive step if we're talking about how we want the international game to grow.
No, but it's it's certainly some leverage that they've got to try and separate these two nations from each other, and also possibly to get them to support some sort of compromise.
Do you think there is any chance of a further turnaround in the position? You sort of hinted at it about the situation's changed even since then, with our case numbers now being,
although no one knows why, coming down.
I think there's probably three reasons why, David. People aren't going to be tested because they don't want to miss out on stuff. People have been isolating because of the record numbers of people getting told by the app to isolate, and the record and the high case numbers that there were 2 weeks ago, meaning that people have been isolating for 2 weeks. And thirdly, most socialising will have been conducted outside, where we know the spread is less severe. So yeah. I think it's going to be and possibly a fourth factor that the people who collect the statistics haven't been working because they've been isolated or having COVID, so there's a delay in the data being collated and reported.
I think there are a lot of theories at the moment as to why the numbers are going down. I think we have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen over the next week. It's going to be quite interesting to see just to what extent we might be approaching a herd immunity number, which we've really been guessing what that might be based on our views of how fast this thing moves around. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes along. It does feel a little bit like it's supporting at least the contention that we may have been, that the Australians and New Zealanders may have been a bit premature in making a decision. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't think anybody can.
Well, what if the players turned round and said, we'll go as our own team. We'll go and talk to the organisers. Kind of like, Tonga separated from their board, didn't they? And so what if enough players said that?
Well, I think
because the players seem to want to come. The coaches at most of the clubs, or many of the clubs, should I say, not most, seem to be keen for them to come and be involved.
Yeah, I think there's probably something in the playing contracts with NRL clubs that would preclude that. I think, however,
no, they can't. They can't stop it. Oh, maybe because it's not. But they can't stop players playing in an officially sanctioned international tournament. But maybe it wouldn't be technically officially sanctioned. So they'd have to go and play for another nation rather than play as some sort of Australian
exactly.
kind of second team.
I think what is reading the League Express today, and I didn't know this before, I think there was something in there that said under that internationally sanctioned tournament, indigenous teams are covered. So if there was an indigenous Australian team and a Maori team from New Zealand, players couldn't be stopped from playing for those teams. So it's possible to rebadge them in that way, albeit that it's not the same teams. It's still not.
It'd still be a different. I don't know if that'd be enough still to satisfy all the sponsors and stuff. I do think without them, the best solution is move it to next year, but not play it at exactly the same time. Play it 2 to 3 weeks earlier. Yeah. And the NRL will have to show their willingness to get the event on by showing compromise around that and moving their grand final date.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably right, Mark. I certainly think, I was very, very much looking forward, as I know you were.
Me too. That's why I'm so angry about it. I think it's part of it's emotional as much as anything else.
Was looking forward to going and enjoying some international rugby league after the last couple of years that we've had. But sadly, I don't think we can hold a credible World Cup unless there is a reversal in those decisions and the Australians and New Zealanders do decide that there's enough. Maybe there's enough, if we offer vaccinations, maybe there's enough sort of support or to satisfy them that they're concerns about safety. Give them a ladder to climb down.
Yeah.
We're gonna, if they are going to reverse the decision, we have to give them something to help them to climb down. They won't climb down if we just go in hard on them, I suspect. But there you go. Horrible.
Let's
situation.
move on then, shall we? Before we depress ourselves anymore and make ourselves more upset that all my holidays that I've used for October and November are pointless. Just going to be cold and wet with no rugby to watch. Let's move on to what's going on at Leeds.
Yes, indeed. So, Leeds Rhinos forward Matt Pryor has signed a new 2-year deal. The 34-year-old Australian would have been out of contract at the end of the season. He moved to Headingley from NRL side Cronulla Sharks for the 2020 campaign. Now, last year, good signing. I think the Leeds has been playing well.
Yeah, I mean, rare that a 34-year-old will get a 2-year deal, but I think they needed to offer him the 2 years to make sure he played one more year. So yeah, and he offers leadership in that group.
Good go for him.
He's been playing quite well, like you say, and they've got some other young forwards around, like Aledski, like Holroyd, like Gannon, that
can
benefit from his presence in the squad, his continued presence. Staying with Leeds Rhinos have taken the captaincy away from halfback Luke Gale, so that leadership role for Matt Pryor might become more relevant after Gale was deemed to have acted in a way not aligned to team trademarks. I don't know what they've trademarked so much, but anyway, that's what the statement says. The 33-year-old England international was dropped for the Rhinos win over Salford last Friday, despite being named in the initial squad. Gale is available for Thursday's game at Hull FC, though, with the Rhinos now describing the matter as closed. I would like to apologise to everyone connected to the club. I will be making sure I give my absolute best every day to help the team achieve our goal this season, Gale said. And I added slight emphasis on this season because does that mean this will be his last season?
Oh, that's interesting.
At Leeds. But yeah, so rumours of a fallout with Richard Agar that maybe, I'm not sure if there was anything else that sort of prefaced this happening, but I'm sure other podcasts might have more Leeds-specific insight, although they might not give it up willingly.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some of our listeners from Leeds can get in touch and give us some of the lowdown.
Well, they were also shocked that they didn't get any fan views in from the game, so so I don't know if they're talking to us at the moment, David. But it's quite significant news, really, in the middle of the season. Leeds are in a position to be chasing the top six, especially with the team ahead of them missing so many games that they might not even play 18. It's a big problem for them, isn't it?
It is. They are starting to play well. I think. They've shown more promise over the last few weeks. They've had some a really rocky start to the season, lots of injuries, obviously. Really rocky start to the season. It's taken them a long time to get going, but just as they've got going, they've now had this problem with Luke Gell, whatever it is. And you don't ever want to see that. You don't want to see that. It's not good for the morale of the team, for the individual that's involved. And it's not easy to move on from some of those things, in a top-level professional sport.
Yep. Well, from one unsettled halfback, shall we move to a very settled halfback?
Yes, indeed. Halfback Josh Drinkwater has signed a new 2-year deal at the Catalan Dragons. 29-year-old Australian, first joined Catalan in 18, and he rejoined in 20 after a year at Hull KR.
Yep, solid bit of business there. Huddersfield coach Ian Watson has confirmed prop James Gavey has played his last match for the club. Gavey, who's 31, has made 21 appearances for the Giants since joining them from Newcastle Knights ahead of the 2020 season, but has been given permission to return home for personal reasons. They weren't going to be drawn more on it, and Watson said maybe Gavey will release those reasons at some point if he chooses to, but effectively there's big change between this year and next year again as Watson clears out some people and sets up his squad.
Yeah, and again, that's another side that look like they're just about starting to find some form and some cohesion as a team. And no doubt we can touch on that a little bit later when we talk about the match against Hull.
Yeah, for sure.
So Catalan Dragons captain Benjamin Garcia will be out for at least 6 weeks with a broken forearm. The 28-year-old back row was forced off during the French side's 32-30 win over Hull KR on Saturday. What a great game that was. France international Garcia, who has scored 4 tries in the league this season, will see a specialist and requires surgery. That's a serious break, and they will miss him.
Yeah, hopefully it heals well and is back soon because he's been inspirational for him so far this year. EFC's favourite topic, Tom Lynham close to a Wakefield Trinity deal. EFC 78JU said, since hearing the news of Tom Lynham wanting to leave, Wakefield have come in with a contract offer so we can sign for them. It's near to being done. We are just losing all of our star players almost every season. Best of luck, Tom, in your future. You'll regret not signing a new deal at the place you call home for the past seasons. Well, if the rumour that Warrington are looking to replace him with Tom Johnston has any merit to it at all, which I'm surprised the FC hasn't also commented on, then I don't think they'd be that upset as long as they can keep him fit. But yeah, we'll wait for that to be confirmed, but it looks most likely that that is where Tom Lynham will end up now at Wakefield. And then another line from the Super League today. Saints scrum half Theo Farge has been ruled out for the rest of the season with a broken shoulder injury sustained at Wembley. Farge had gone into the game with a minor injury picked up in their game against Wigan, which needed a painkilling injection ahead of the cup final, and he scored Saints' opening try in that final, but Farge then picked up a more serious injury in the 6th minute and has already undergone surgery to repair it. It might explain why a couple of them dummy half passes he threw didn't make the mark if he had a broken shoulder when he was throwing him. Yeah,
it was right to left. He couldn't, no power in his right shoulder, which is there's apparently some sort of hairline crack in the shoulder, which has just meant he's lost all power in that arm. So it probably did explain why it was there. Obviously, we don't know to what extent this was a pre-existing problem because he missed the previous week, or whether they're just getting underneath it now. What's for sure is it'll give an opportunity to Lewis Dodd and to Jack Wellesby maybe to play in the halves. Theo's been incredibly important for Saints over the last few years in terms of the way in which he defends and splits duties with Lomax. So just as Catalan will miss Garcia, certainly Saints will miss Theo Farge.
And it seems as well that he's played his last game for Saints now then, because the expectation is that he'll leave next year. And even in the quotes about this, Christian Wolf said